The world of international trade has experienced a seismic shift today, one that will be felt in boardrooms, factories, and marketplaces across the globe. The interconnected web of commerce that links nations has just been fundamentally altered, sending ripples through every sector of the global economy. In a landmark decision, the United States Supreme Court has overturned the sweeping tariffs imposed during the Trump administration, a move that has stunned both supporters and critics of protectionist policies. This decision represents a fundamental re-evaluation of America's economic posture on the global stage, signaling a willingness to re-engage with international partners and reconsider the nation's role in the world economy. For years, these tariffs defined the landscape of international commerce, creating barriers that complicated supply chains, increased costs for consumers, and sparked retaliatory trade wars with some of America's closest allies. Now, with a single judicial pronouncement, that era has ended. The legal foundation for these tariffs has been swept away, opening the door to a new chapter in trade relations. The implications are vast and far-reaching, affecting multinational corporations with global supply chains, as well as small businesses that rely on imported materials or export their goods abroad. Every sector, from technology to agriculture, will feel the impact. This decision marks a pivotal moment in modern economic history, one that will be studied and debated for years to come. It is a turning point that could redefine the rules of engagement for nations and businesses alike. It signals a potential return to a more integrated international system, where cooperation and open markets may once again take precedence over isolation and division. The tariffs were originally designed to shield American industries from foreign competition, aiming to protect jobs and boost domestic production. However, these measures came at a significant cost, raising prices for consumers and straining relationships with trading partners. They strained relationships with key allies, led to tit-for-tat retaliations, and disrupted the smooth flow of goods across borders. Many businesses faced uncertainty, supply shortages, and increased operational costs. The Supreme Court's ruling closes this contentious chapter and opens a new dialogue about the future of globalization, international cooperation, and the balance between national interests and global prosperity. The world is watching closely to see how the United States will navigate this new landscape. Allies and competitors alike are recalibrating their strategies, anticipating both opportunities and challenges in the months ahead. The removal of these tariffs will unleash new economic forces, creating opportunities for growth, innovation, and collaboration. At the same time, it will present new challenges as industries adapt to increased competition and shifting market dynamics. The path forward is uncertain, filled with both risks and rewards. But one thing is clear: the rules of the game have changed, and those who adapt quickly will be best positioned to thrive in this evolving environment. This is not merely a technical adjustment of import duties, it is a profound shift in economic philosophy, reflecting a broader debate about the future of globalization, national sovereignty, and the interconnectedness of our world. The world had grown accustomed to a fragmented trading environment where barriers and uncertainty were the norm. Now, the possibility of a more unified and predictable system is on the horizon. The decision has set the stage for a new era in global trade, one filled with hope, complexity, and the promise of renewed cooperation among nations. To truly understand the significance of today's Supreme Court ruling, we need to take a step back and revisit the events and decisions that set the stage for this moment. The story begins several years ago, during a time of growing economic anxiety and shifting global alliances. The Trump-era tariffs were introduced out of a belief that the United States was being taken advantage of by existing free trade agreements. Many policymakers and workers felt that American industries, especially steel and aluminum, were losing ground to foreign competitors. The administration argued that countries like China were engaging in unfair trade practices, such as dumping cheap goods and subsidizing their own industries, which hurt American businesses and workers. Tariffs were seen as a powerful tool to level the playing field, protect American manufacturing, and bring jobs back to the U.S. heartland. Supporters hoped these measures would spark a revival of domestic industry. This approach marked a sharp departure from the decades-long post-World War II consensus that favored trade liberalization and international cooperation. For years, the U.S. had championed open markets and global trade agreements. The legal justification for these tariffs was Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, a rarely used provision that allows the president to impose tariffs on imports deemed a threat to national security. However, the Trump administration applied these tariffs broadly, not just to rivals like China, but also to long-standing allies such as Canada and European nations, straining traditional partnerships. The result was a wave of retaliatory tariffs from other countries, sparking a global trade war that affected businesses and consumers on both sides of the Atlantic and Pacific. As tariffs took effect, the cost of imported goods rose sharply, leading to higher prices for everyday products and significant disruptions in global supply chains. American farmers, in particular, felt the pain as foreign governments targeted U.S. agricultural exports with their own tariffs, leaving crops unsold and livelihoods at risk. The tariffs quickly became a symbol of a more confrontational and unpredictable America, straining diplomatic relationships and fueling protests both at home and abroad. Now, with today's Supreme Court decision, we see a clear repudiation of that high-stakes gamble, signaling a potential shift in how America approaches trade and its role in the global economy. The Supreme Court's decision in United States Steel Exporters versus United States was pivotal. The 6-3 majority opinion penned by Chief Justice Roberts focused on constitutional interpretation. The court found the executive branch exceeded its authority under Section 232. The ruling argued national security couldn't be interpreted to encompass general economic competition. The decision reaffirms the constitutional separation of powers. The court didn't rule on the tariff's economic wisdom, but on the legal process. The decision sets a precedent, likely constraining future presidents from using national security as a pretext for protectionism. The immediate effect: tariffs under Section 232 are void. Importers and free trade advocates celebrate it as a victory for the rule of law. However, some domestic producers fear a flood of cheap imports and job losses. The economic consequences of this ruling will be immediate. American consumers and businesses have been paying a hidden tax in the form of tariffs. With tariffs gone, expect a gradual reduction in imported goods prices. This will relieve households struggling with the cost of living. However, the transition won't be without challenges. The tariffs provided a protective shield for certain domestic industries. These sectors may face renewed competition from foreign producers. The ruling forces a conversation about supporting affected workers and communities. The impact on global supply chains will be profound. Companies face new calculations, revert to old supply chains, or embrace diversification. The removal of tariffs is likely a net positive for the U.S. economy. The challenge for policymakers is ensuring the benefits of free trade are shared broadly. The political fallout from this Supreme Court decision is significant. The ruling is a blow to the populist nationalist wing of American politics. The tariffs were a cornerstone of the America First agenda. The court's decision will be seen as a repudiation of this worldview. It could shift the political consensus back towards a pro-trade stance. For the current administration, the ruling presents both an opportunity and a challenge. It removes a major irritant in relations with key allies. The administration must reassure anxious workers while embracing a more open global economy. The ruling impacts America's relationship with China. The tariffs were the primary weapon in the US-China trade war. The removal of tariffs may de-escalate the conflict, but doesn't resolve underlying tensions. The ruling's impact extends beyond law and economics. For communities with declining manufacturing bases, tariffs offered hope. Their removal may feel like a betrayal, deepening economic anxiety. On the other hand, lower prices for consumer goods will benefit many Americans. The tariffs were a regressive tax, harming those least able to afford it. Their removal is a step towards a more equitable economic system. The decision has implications for the future of work in America. The focus must be on preparing workers for the jobs of tomorrow. This means investing in education, vocational training, and lifelong learning. The social impact depends on how we respond to the ruling. We can choose to build a more dynamic and inclusive economy. Economists express cautious optimism about the Supreme Court's decision. Dr. Amelia Vance calls it a victory for economic sanity. She notes the tariffs hurt American consumers and producers. The decision clears the way for a more rational trade policy. However, not all experts share this view. Michael Stoddard argues it's a blow to American workers. He believes the tariffs were forcing China to negotiate. Legal scholars focus on the constitutional implications. Professor David Chen describes it as a landmark moment for separation of powers. The ruling pushes back against Congress delegating trade authority to the executive. From an international relations perspective, the ruling is an opportunity to repair alliances. Former Ambassador Jane Hartley sees it as a reset button for global cooperation. With tariffs gone, the U.S. must chart a new trade course. The path forward must embrace open markets while addressing inequality. This means pursuing new trade agreements with strong protections for labor and the environment. A key priority is re-engaging with multilateral institutions like the WTO. The U.S. can lead the charge to reform and modernize the organization. At home, the focus must be on healing domestic divisions exposed by the trade debate. This requires a renewed commitment to the social safety net. We must be clear-eyed about the challenge posed by China. The U.S. must confront China's unfair trade practices strategically. The path forward is one of smart, strategic, and collaborative engagement. Today's Supreme Court ruling is a moment of national reflection, a turning point that invites us to look back at the choices we've made and the path we want to take forward as a nation. The great experiment with protectionism has ended, and the results are clear for all to see. Factories have shuttered, jobs have been lost, and the ripple effects have touched every corner of our economy. The tariffs imposed significant costs on our economy and strained alliances with our closest partners. Businesses struggled to adapt, and consumers felt the pinch in their everyday lives. The court's decision is an acknowledgement of these facts, a recognition that the path we were on was unsustainable and ultimately harmful to our shared prosperity. The enduring lesson is that America prospers most when open to the world, when we welcome new ideas, talent, and opportunities from every corner of the globe. Protectionism is a sign of fear, not strength. It closes doors, limits growth, and isolates us from the innovation and collaboration that drive progress. The challenge before us is not to resist the future, but to shape it with courage and vision. We must invest in our people, our industries, and our communities to ensure we remain leaders in a rapidly changing world. This ruling gives us a chance to embrace a future of openness and global leadership, to rebuild trust with our allies, and to create new opportunities for all Americans. The new era of globalization must be smarter, fairer, and more inclusive, one that lifts everyone up and leaves no one behind, regardless of background or circumstance. The Supreme Court has opened a door for a better path, one that leads toward unity, resilience, and shared prosperity. We must engage in a serious, honest conversation about our economic future, learning from past mistakes and working together to build a stronger foundation. Let us not waste this opportunity to build a more prosperous and just society, one where every individual has the chance to thrive and where openness remains our greatest strength.